For a few minutes I've been thinking about some sort of a structure to this video. What am I going to say? Where shall I start? Where shall I end? And all this, but doesn't manifest. Nothing ever manifests in a structured way. The curious thing about it is I don't have anything that I could present in a document to you guys when I'm making my videos. I turn on the camera and that's my cue. It's all of a sudden, you know, scene 5, clip 42, whatever, and then it's like, go. So I'm going to be addressing now my recent videos and explaining why things are like they are with me. Lots of people, they have an idea, and depending where that idea comes from, it's the energy of what is delivered. And when I'm making videos, okay, here's the thing, like, lots of people have said in the past, oh, you know, when you start these rantings about us, the viewers, you're better than that. I'm like, what do you mean I'm better than that? Well, you know, instead of concentrating on us, you just keep saying all these wonderful things that you say so we can enjoy it all. And I'm like, yeah, but I think you're missing the point, because that's the whole point. Because for years I've been doing this, spending an enormous amount of time and energy and money to deliver information to you guys. And in recent times I bought a new laptop, 350 quid. It was a used one, reconditioned, brand new, 750 quid. But I got it for 350, which was a great deal. Only 2 years old. And so then I bought the camera, which is £390. Then I have bought lots of varying packages to enable me to write my book, which I'll give to you for free. £100 for this, £150 for that. You know, everything's like 100 quid. Then I subscribed to Zoom, so I can speak with people for over 40 minutes, and that costs £15 a month. And when I put all these wonderful, spiritual, you know, lovey-dovey videos up, you're all lapping it up. And I'm like, well, you know, any of you read any of these chapters in the book? What do you think about it? You know, give me an appraisal, a critique, or let's have a chat about it, you know, Zoom me, let's hook up, and all this. And I've been writing the book now for about 3 months, and, you know, I've almost finished it. And yet there hasn't been a single person that's come forward wanting to talk about it, to express what they have been presented with, what they've been challenged with, what they've derived from it. Anything. It's a bit like a book club. We read books and we talk about them with other people. It's interesting, it's good, it's positive. There's something to be gleaned from it. And then when nothing comes forward, and I put up another video, and then within seconds you guys are like flies round shit and you're on the video. And I say, you like these videos, it appears. Well, have you got anything to say about them? What do you like about them? What do you get from these videos? Is there anything that you find disturbing or inspiring, or you don't grasp, or things that you've experienced? There's a million things that can be said, and very little is said. The only people that say anything on this channel are the people, 99%, that's been saying stuff for a long time, long-term viewers. And it really is a curious, perplexing thing for me. And then people say in the comments, do you think that you're projecting in a broad way what you think about as the viewer? I'm like, well, how could I do anything any other way? I haven't got a clue who 99% of you are. And yet, what do you think? I've been rattling your cages for 12, 13 years. Trying to encourage you in a whole myriad of ways to get involved, to express yourself, to come out from under your stone and stop being shrinking violets and cowards and all this sort of thing. But yesterday I listened to a channel. It's called Academy of Ideas. It's a philosophy channel, and they've got all different sorts of amazing things. Academy of Ideas. And one of the videos in the suggestions was like, why is it that the herd are so cowardice? I'm like, yeah, it's a good question. You know, why are they such cowards? You know, in the 21st century, with all this IT and Facebooks and, you know, Twitter and all the rest of it, and a gazillion channels on YouTube, people, you who have watched me for many years, and I'm like, have you still not learnt enough to be able to come and have a chat with someone that you know more about than probably your boss, your neighbour, even lots of your best friends? They don't talk as openly, as intimately like I do. You know more about me than you do the vast majority of people that you are acquainted with. And yet you still don't feel free to come and have a chat. Even like, yeah, hi Aaron. I've been watching you for about 6 years now, and I like this and I like that, and you know, I was drawn to you because of this and because of that, and I'm not on your level, that's why I watch your videos, but I could talk to you about this or about that, you know, if you are willing to do that, you know, just, you know, kind of like help me along and, you know, all this sort of thing. And I'm like, well, yeah, great, you know, why doesn't that happen? Why doesn't that happen? It used to happen, and I believe it used to happen because the conversation was much more mundane. Because when I look back in my videos, of course, through the years, then what I was saying then was, of course, it was relatively mundane to where I am now. And, you know, one of the avid viewers said only in a comment yesterday that, you know, having watched me for 10 years, been with me on the journey, been on his own journey simultaneously, and loved the fact how I would broach the obstacles that I was encountering along the way. All different sorts of things I used to get involved with, making a whole myriad of different varieties of videos, and just philosophising, analysing, psychoanalysing, and all this sort of thing. And now it's a much more of a narrow parameter of things which I speak about, because I'm closer to the objective, and so of course I've eliminated so many other subject matter on things, and it's narrowed right down now. And due to the experiences, the supernatural experiences I've had, then I need supernatural answers. I can't get the answers from videos or books or things like this. This supernatural thing is a subjective, personal thing, and albeit you can read about near-death experiences and religious experiences and paranormal and all the rest of it, but they're all an individual thing, and invariably we'll never have anything remotely similar. We'll have different bizarre stuff. And so I say, have you got any bizarre stuff? You know, I'd love to hear about it. And there's a few of my viewers that are engaging all the time with emails, and, you know, we have conversations offline and stuff like that. But because I'm doing what I'm doing, and I still am a human being, then I have idiosyncrasies, dispositions, emotions similar to the next man. And when people say, oh yeah, you're better than this, why can't you just do your videos and leave us alone? I'm like, well look, here's the thing. If I was a chef and I decided to open a restaurant, and I promoted that I'm going to be introducing you to my cuisine, and I have a free menu. So all of you that are interested in trying out the Awake and Brave cuisine, why don't you come on down to the restaurant and you know, indulge. And then when you do, and I notice that on any given night, it's a big restaurant, there's like, you know, 200, 300 patrons come for the freebie, and they're all enjoying, and the vast majority of them come back, and then it turns out that they're very regular, and yet they never leave a tip, they never give an appraisal to me, the chef, they never say compliments to the chef, they never mention anything to the waitress or the usher about the quality of the food or anything about it. They come, they eat, and then they leave. And then they come back again the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And they never leave a tip, they never compliment the chef, and they never give an appraisal to the waitress or waiter or anything like that. And then you guys think that it's unreasonable for me, the chef, to come out into the restaurant one day and go, so what's the deal? You've been eating here now for the past 5 years. Some of you, 10 years. You've been eating in my restaurant free for 10 years. And yet you don't have the decency, the respect to say compliments to the chef, or to inquire into what ingredient did you use to cook this? It tasted like this, and it gave me that sort of an experience. And I found it, you know, it was very stimulating, and I'm curious about these things. Nobody's curious about what they're eating. You know? So I look around, and then I see, oh, there's 1, 2, 3 people in 100 that is like, hi chef, how you doing? Great food, by the way. Is that cinnamon that you're using in there, or is it nutmeg? It's kind of, yeah, it's cool. Anyway, I'll talk to you about that later. I'm like, yeah, cool. Who's the guys that you're with? Oh, they're just dead folk. Dead folk? Yeah, just The Walking Dead. Oh, okay, right. How are they enjoying the food? Don't know. They never say anything. Okay, that's weird. Anyway, going to go back and do a bit more cooking. You know, to use another analogy, for those of you that ain't getting it yet, and why I do this, and I'm so much better than it. If I'm on stage and I'm performing, and you come night after night after night, and you just sit there, and you never clap, you never holler, you never woo, it's nothing. And at the end of the concert, you just leave. But in the concert, if there's 3,000, then there's 30 people, let's say. And the 30 people are like, whoa, Aaron, Awake and Brave, yeah, cool. And I'm like, oh, same old faces, yeah, it's been you for the past 10 years. What about all the rest of the guys? Hey, what about those guys you're with? What are these guys? Oh, they're nobody. They're nobody, no. They're dead. Yeah, they're dead. What is it that makes people dead? What is it that fills them full of fear and insecurity? What is it that fills them full of lethargy? What is it that makes somebody watch someone like me? And you see, Other people used to say to me, well, do you do this on other channels? Do you do that? Do you engage? And I'm like, no, I don't. Because I don't watch any channel consistently. I float around and, you know, I pick and choose what I want and I decide what I want to look at. And then, you know, I'll go through a score of videos or whatever. And, you know, I'll always thumb up. If I, you know, get more than a quarter of the way through the video, I'm obviously engaged with it. And so I'll thumb up, you know, this guy helps out the algorithms and this, that and the other. Seldomly do I comment. But if I was to watch someone regularly and I felt a little bit of an affinity with them, then of course it will be a natural thing for me to do. And so I don't get how it isn't a natural thing for you, who have watched me for many years and know me more than you know your own wife probably, or husband, to be fair, because I talk about things from a depth whereby the level of insecurity in most people won't even go there. And you may think that you know your partner. I'm telling you now, you don't know them. You don't know them. You only know them unless you've both been through massive traumas together. You've been terrified, you've been elated, you've been compromised in so many ways, and you've shared your fears and your desires and your anxieties with one another to such a deep level. And you're free and open and you don't have any skeletons, there's nothing that you're ashamed of with your partner because you know, oh, that's not very rare, sorry, that's not very common, that's exceedingly rare. And how many people when they get divorced and then things go really strange and then they go, well, I don't even know this person now, I don't recognise that person. I've been married to that person 20 years and now I don't recognise that version. Exactly. So why do I rattle your cages? If I can't, having made beautiful videos telling you about the nature of the cosmos and all different sorts of paranormal things as my own personal experience has shown me, and I'm sharing this with you, and then you don't want to share anything back. I go, well look, I've tried, I've asked, I've spent money, you know, I've spent £1,000 in this last like 6 weeks alone. And what do I get from it? What do I get from it? Like I always say, I get nothing from you, invariably nothing from you. I'm paid by the man. The man pays me and he's given me everything. He's given me a high level of perfection. And I'm like very blessed and gifted and happy to do God's work. But of course, there is a residue of ego, and I can deploy it whenever I want to. And I deploy it when I want to change directions or tactics. And I go, well, okay, I can't get no response from these viewers on this level. So I just move the goalposts. And all of a sudden, when you thought I was over here, all of a sudden I'm over here. And then I'm speaking in a very different way, with a very different energy, that you wouldn't even recognise me. Until I come back and I'm here. You recognise this one, and most of you like this one, because you're comfortable with it. But when I go over here, you get very uncomfortable and afraid. What's he going to say next? What's he going to do next? Is he going to be pointing the finger at me? Oh my God. And I suppose you're sitting on the edge of your chairs, you know, biting your nails. Is he going to mention me? Is he going to mention my dirty bum? Is he going to be mentioning my brown teeth? Yeah, chances are he is. Because he knows how to get to you. And so when he reels off a few very obvious human traits, then he knows that he's going to be affecting in an emotional way at least 50% of his viewers. And so it's within those 50%ers that I can encourage to come to say something. When they've never said anything else about all my wonderful, beautiful videos, I go, well, okay, let's see if you've got something to say when I point out your rotten teeth or your yellow tongue. And lo and behold, then I always get some of these little reptiles that crawl out from under stones. And then they've got something to say about my ego and my narcissism. And I'm like, well, I've studied narcissism long and hard. And I don't meet the criteria of being a narcissist. And in actual fact, I'm quite far away from it. And so you evidently don't understand what narcissism means. And so you're using the wrong word there. And then people talk about bitterness and, you know, oh, he's so bitter, or even a demonic voice, when you have that demonic voice. Really? Don't you think that that's just an interpretation? I mean, someone says about this demonic voice, it's the first time I've ever heard about that. So when people say things like that, they need to look at their own projection. What is it that made them think that I had a demonic voice? You know, a demonic voice. Oh my God, where does that come from? Really? Or was it that I said something which touched something within you, which sent you back to a period in your life which you felt was demonic? That's probably more likely, isn't it? And so what I do and what I say is, I say, look, what I'm doing, people, is I'm giving you all an opportunity to look at yourselves. And I like to be looked at, and I would like to be psychoanalyzed and investigated, and so I always give you the opportunity. But the only thing I ever really get is like, narcissist and ego, because that's the level that you're at. And that comes from people, when I go, you've probably got a brown tongue. Have you got dirt under your nails? I met a lot of people in my life, as you can imagine, travelling all around the world. And there's very little that I haven't seen. And when I speak about dirty brown tongues with fizzes in them and things like that, well, I've never kissed such a creature. And very often when I speak about things, I haven't necessarily experienced them in this life. I've experienced them in other lives. Because I know absolutely intuitively that I have. And those of you that have listened to many of my videos, when you can really get into the depth of what I'm saying, you will see that this is a very old soul here. And it's had a whole myriad of experiences in so many ways, in so many dimensions around this cosmos. And this is why I'm on this quest to get closer to God, because intuitively I've always known that it's there. And it's kind of like, right, the hero's journey. I launch myself on the hero's journey. How do I get there? How do I find him? Okay, get my knapsack, on my cane, and off I go on my hero's journey. Been on the hero's journey now 12, 13 years. And traversed many summits, many valleys. And seems now that I'm getting closer and closer to the main summit. And I can see the light up there. And I can feel the presence, and I know I'm getting closer. And so what I do is then, I monitor all that. And I ask myself, what is God? How do I get closer to God? And I write a book about it. And then I just test things now and again by slipping out of that trajectory, off that narrow path. I go down a valley. Momentarily, I just think, I'm not heading up constantly. Constantly, it doesn't really offer the greatest of variances. I like the hills and the dales. I like to be going up and down and experiencing these things, because when we go down into these valleys, that's when we come upon the little gremlins and entities of different varieties, and wise old men and you know, evil witches and all the rest of that. All that metaphorical stuff. You meet all those characters down there, and then you go, thanks for that. That was really cool. And then you go up again onto the top and you go, wow, it's weird down there. It's weird. And you head up a little bit more. But then after a while, if you don't get something from the man, because those sort of things, they're far and few between. And if you need more stimulation, if you're looking for a bit more adventure, which is my spirit, You say to yourself, I'll just go down here, just for a while. Don't worry, I'll be back. I'm just going to visit these guys down here. So I go down there and I'm creeping through the woods and I see what's around. And then I get all these little goblins and all these sort of things. And I have another miniature adventure until I come back out again. And so with the human being, what I do is I will offer this, and this. And because I don't stay on one trajectory, then I have more opportunity of popping up in other people's suggested list. And maybe a foraging video, maybe a mushroom video, maybe a psychedelic video, maybe a meditation video, maybe a video on dreams, maybe the nature of God, maybe the nature of evil, all these sort of things. And so I can attract people like that, and then they'll come on the site and they'll go, well, he's only done 1 or 2 videos on that, and it's got all these other videos. And some people stick around and they go, well, let me have a look at that one. Oh, actually, it's quite interesting. I wasn't really interested in that, but he's, got an interesting, alluring delivery. And so some people stick around. But when they stick around, and then they enjoy, I start to go, hello, hey all you guys. I just put a video up, and within an hour, I've got 75 views. And 1 comment. How's that work? It's a great video. The videos that I make come from a very deep place, as lots of you are aware. But ones that want to go like this, and have done in recent times, they project that I'm just waffling on with incoherent gobbledygook and just basking in my own ego and I'm not saying nothing. And really, I think there's plenty of people on this channel which would disagree with you, by the way. And when people like that have said things like that, and then you find out that they've been watching for 7 years or something, you go, you've not really thought about why you're saying this, have you? It's probably because the Awakened Brave has mentioned something about dirty bums and brown teeth. And if you fit that bill, then all of a sudden your ego's been hurt, and hurt people. So you've come on to hurt, but you can't hurt the Awakened Brave. And then people go, oh, you'll probably delete this comment. Psst, it's water with Doug's back. I've been to the lengths and breadths of the cosmos. Do you think anything that you're going to be saying to me? That's why I invite you. Fucking say it. For goodness sakes, get it off your chest. And then think about it. Ask yourself, the words you're using, do you know what those words mean? Most cases people don't. They just try to use highfalutin language and they use words out of context, and you think like, oh, you're trying to destroy me or affect me when I can see that you're playing amateur. But I welcome you and thank you for your comments and all this sort of thing. Now if you want to hang around, start saying something a bit more intelligent and sensible. Because I'm not prepared to listen to venom. Pointless, monotonous venom. People that want to spread poison and try and get people to rally around, no, you won't get through the vetting system. Only opinions which potentially have some value will. And the value will be determined by the reasoning and logic that you're applying. Not just projecting from your hurt place, which I can see as plain as day. It's kind of like, well, you haven't commented in all these years, and then when you feel hurt, then I catch you, don't I? Goodness me, people, you should all know better than this. I spoke about it for years. I spoke about I'm an angler, and what I do is I put on a certain bait, and I cast out this bait, and I'm like, here we go. You know exactly what you've got on the line. This one, it's weak, it's a weak fish, it's a little bit of a struggler, and so, oh, you bring it in, you go, oh, it's one of those. Of course it is. And so, you know, when you are an angler, then you cast out over here, you cast out under the shade of the tree. Then you cast out over the what do you call it? I don't know, the kind of like ravine, you know, where the side of the bank goes down. You've got a little bit of a, you know, ravine there. Fish like to hang around in there, so you toss it out there. And then some like to hang around in the rapids where they can see all the bits of food. And so whatever fish you want, you just cast out like that. And then, you know, you can get them. But invariably, through all of my angling, I haven't managed to catch too many of the intelligent ones. And I can only suppose that is because there aren't that many. And the ones that I do have are the ones that can convey themselves as, yeah, I started watching your videos and oh, really cool, and I like this, and you know, I'm learning a lot from them and I appreciate them, and they're not afraid to say that. But there's lots of people that can't say that. They can't say I'm learning from somebody else because their ego doesn't allow them. It's kind of like, oh, I know what you're saying, and all this. I'm like, really? Why do you keep watching then? Why have you been watching for years and years if you know it all? Seems a bit egotistical. You know, let me have, you know, my knowledge agreed with by somebody else. Oh, yes, I know that, I know this. And then, you know, we can fall into an assumption that because we know one thing that someone's speaking about, then you know all the rest and stuff like that. But, you know, it isn't so, is it? And so, you know, I say lots of things and I deploy lots of different energies. And there's never any malice in, but I can play these characters. And so after I made these videos yesterday, I sat down anticipating, you know, a little bit of something, and then, you know, there's been lots of response relatively in a positive way. Let's say 95% positive. All the regular viewers, they don't even comment on this because they know, oh, he's angling again, and they know they're not the fish. So I'm angling because they're already in the school. They're already in my school and they're all acquainted with me, and they know, they can see I'm angling for fresh meat out there to see if I can draw them in. And you know, I draw compassionate people in, sympathetic people, some people that want to nurture me and mother me because they see some sort of insecurity or whatever, or this guy just needs love. And then other people, if I touch them in a certain way, then they feel their own pain, want to project their pain. And you know, sometimes I'll get intelligent ones, and then I'll communicate with those, and they'll end up being long-term friends or associates, which I have, you know, a reasonable number at the present moment in time. And so I'm the sort of person that needs a lot of stimulation. And if I'm saying stuff which I've learned through my 60 years of travelling, the greatest and most compromising of journeys, and I've learned a thing or two, and I promote this, promulgate this, lay it on a platter, being explanatory as I can, expressing myself in the most of intricate ways as I'm trying to deliver. So I'm speaking to you with emotion, I'm speaking to you with my lexicon, I'm speaking to you and I'm picking out the right words that fit the right circumstances. And I think about every single one of my words before I use them. And they absolutely have to fit what I'm trying to express. Otherwise I don't use words that I don't know the meaning to and are not appropriate. And so, doing all this, expressing myself, and then watching for the reaction. And every time I do it, of course, you know, I get a reaction. I get what I'm looking for. And the fortunate thing is that I don't carry the consequences of anything, because this is part of my aphantasia. People who are aphantasiac, they move on quickly from emotional situations. And I've said in many of my videos in the past, don't get consumed with your emotion, because they're all fickle and they're mostly fake. They're liars about your anxiety and your insecurity and your hate and, you know, all the rest of it, and then you love them. And then sometimes, you know, when people come on and, wow, I've just found your channel, you're so great, and I went, look, don't build me up, because there's going to come a time when I'm going to say stuff and you're not going to feel this way. And so I'm not getting excited about how you feel now, because I know that that's very, very likely to change, because I'm going to be changing what I'm giving you. And people don't like that. What they like, what people like, is when they find you and you're saying what they need to hear. Then they want you to keep repeating that, and they want to be fed on a consistent basis with a consistent message like Infinite Waters. Please, love and fake shit and all that. Well, he's got hundreds of thousands of viewers, and they bask in that fake loving and that fake sympathy and just fake shit. And at the very least, these people are only ever dealing with 50% of life. I'm dealing with 100% of it. I don't neglect what most people want to neglect. In actual fact, what I do is I go, oh, by the way, you know that thing that you've been neglecting for many, many years? I want to talk about it. I think we should talk about it. And just in case you didn't know, it's called the shadow. That facet of us that we hide and we deny and we bury and we don't want to acknowledge and all this sort of stuff. Well, what I'm saying to you is that if you get acquainted with that, and if you go, hello, shadow of Aaron Berry, so what do you know? And then the shadow's like, oh, I know this, and I know that, I know this about you, and I know why you do that, and I'm like, interesting. Well, let's have it out then. Ooh, having it out? No. Can't have it out. I'm a shadow. I stay hidden. I'm like, well, I need to change that. So I get a torch and I go shining it on the awake and brave. Where's this shadow? Come on, all these things. I'm not afraid of you. I don't want you hiding in here with all your secrets. Let's have them out. And I get them out. And then I'm saying to you, I don't want all you guys with the shadows watching me, feeding on me, pretending that you're something else and you don't do these things I'm speaking about. You do, or you would, if you're a real human being. But like lots of other people's videos say, you know, if you're a coward, if you're shrinking violet, you know, if you deny your own shadow and all these things and your own potential, then you can go on living in your own fantasy bubble. But if you want to get real with yourself, and if you really want to discover, which the vast majority of people don't, because it's terrifying. And like Carl Jung, the guy who coined the term shadow, he said the last thing in the world the average person wants to do is to look at their shadow. They just don't want to do it. And so, if you're going to be travelling with me, you're going to need to do it. Otherwise you're not going to stand the test of time, and you're going to feel so affronted, and you're going to consider me so objectionable because I'm trying to pry out that nasty stuff which is within you, which you're denying. And there's a great resistance to it, and that's when you start And all I've got to do is got to go, dirty bum, brown teeth, dirty nails, dirty house, dirty bathroom, anything like that. And then all of a sudden, I've got you. And so, all these things, I used to talk about the fat and the skinny and the ugly, and I've talked about them all, haven't I? And it's just a case of, well, I don't mind being the recipient of anyone's venom. because I don't carry the weight of it. It's nothing to me. I'm impervious to it. Because where this is coming from is a good place. It isn't coming from hate. It isn't coming from a vile conglomerate of all this potential human nastiness. It's coming from an open and caring and loving person that wants to raise everybody else up to a similar sort of level. And I don't want to see people with all the shadows and insecurities and the fears and all that. I'm like, oi, this is about your fears and your anxiety and your insecurities. What of it? What of it? Just fucking let it go. Let it go. Let it go. And just be free. And that's where I am. That's why I can do this. That's why I'm impervious to all the rest of the stuff. Because I know it's not real. It's only real if you think it is. If you imagine it is. If you create your own monsters. You know I said about having itchy ears. I've got an itchy ear. And now put it all the way in so I can hear it rubbing on the eardrum and scratch it all around. Nada. So I look at the changing facets of what it is to be the awakened brave, and I'll go, ooh, you probably went a bit over the top there. So I removed that video about the rice because my caricature got carried away with itself. I'd already said it in the first video, and so just like, you know, boring people with saying the same sort of thing again, and because it's rice experiment, people are going to be coming onto the rice experiment thinking, what on earth is this guy talking about? And so I'm like, well, it's not befitting. And so I'll make another video about that rice thing, but without including the message from the other video. You see, because that's what, you know, I do, don't I? I carry things on. And I'm assuming that you are watching a lot of my videos, most of my videos, some of you, all of my videos. If you watch one video every week or two, then you are just like tuning in, or like picking up a book and turning to the page 132 or whatever it is, you know, and you're going like, don't really know what this book's talking about. No, because I don't pick a subject and just present that subject in its entirety. I meander in and out of a whole variety of subject matter. That's the nature of my videos, and that's one of the things that makes them unique. And so they're also interesting because you never know where I'm going. You never know what I'm going to get, and that's why I don't put up any particular, you know, clickbait stuff that's going to draw all these people. I don't want all those people. In actual fact, I don't want anybody, save for the people that have watched my videos, and they're the ones that have the greatest potential of being able to communicate with me. And so therefore it's you I'm speaking to, it's you I'm providing for. And you know, one day when you mature, like some of you do, some of you come to me eventually, oh, I've been watching you, you know, for 5 years and this, that and the other, and you feel kind of ready to engage, you know, and lots of you are simply not ready. And you know, not ready for many reasons, So another thing about my mood swings, because I was working closer to God, and I discovered how to get there by having a very, very tranquil mind and a still heart, and reading all this positive spiritual literature and meditating and doing all these wonderful things and not judging and accepting everything and all that. That's part of the avenue to get closer to God. And so I know that path. But because of my Libran personality, I like to head towards the darker side now and again. And just to feel the variances and to test myself Okay, so you go over here, let's see what you're going to do. You know, are you going to ruin your whole channel? Are you going to disappoint lots of people? And I'm like, well, that's their choice. That's not my intention. That's their choice. And what's good and cool now is that when I do this, most of the long-term viewers, they're going, oh, he's doing that again. And then they go, oh, by the way, on this video you said this and that and this and that. You completely don't even get engaged with that. You just leave that to the amateurs, and some of the amateurs get engaged in it. Or, you know, some of you finally come forward and you go, I suppose I owe it to you really, mate. Now you really push me. Yeah, I mean, I've been watching your videos for a long time and I love them and I've learned a lot and all this. So it works for me. It works for me in lots of ways because I see a whole lot more than you were showing me before. And so for me, it works every single time. And what I've also come to understand about this is that all of these things, they don't seem to lose me subscribers either. It doesn't matter how upset you feel at the time, there's something inside that registers that is my ego projecting onto the Waking Braves ego, and as much as I hate him saying these things about me which are true, I know that, you know, what he was saying, there's a lot of truth to it, and so I've just got to get over myself, and I'll continue to watch his videos. And lots of people have said, in spite of what I've done, they'll still watch my videos because there is personal gain there. And so, you know, I'm a very sort of kind of fatalistic. I don't have much of an adherence to free will. There is a certain parameter, very loosely, of free will. The rest of it, I'm absolutely convinced it's preordained. And so this is one of the Sam Harris kind of, you know, angles also. Because he says, well, you know, free will, everything you do is premised on the things you've done before. And the things that you do before heighten or lessen the propensity and probability of you doing other things. So for instance, if you like football and you play football, there's a high propensity that you're going to watch football. And you're going to read about football, and you're going to talk about football. If you've never played football, never liked it, then the chances of you engaging in football is almost zero. And so we can see from building a profile, and that's what the powers that be are doing, by the way. They're profiling every single one of us, because they want to know, as in the Minority Report, who is going to be liable to perpetrate, commit this crime, that crime, who are liable to be political dissidents, who are liable through the education. We can see what they're watching, and we can see that they're building up into some sort of dissonant troubleshooter, and so we'll nip that one in the bud. That's what they're doing all this for. They want to be absolutely sure what they're dealing with in the finest of details. And as soon as any one of us, our heads are poked above the parapet, then they can look into the data that they've got on us, and they can have a whole profile from the day we were born. You know, people being born today, they're going to have this profile where absolutely everything is known about them. Every book they've read, every video they've watched, everything they've purchased from the store, and all that, it's all going to be known. And then psychoanalysts can, you know, crunch, or a computer will crunch all this data, and they'll give you liability or propensity or probability, and so that's how that's all going. But getting back to what I was, going closer to God, and I embraced that, and I revelled in it. But then, due to me being a Libran, I felt as if I just needed to tip over here, just to spice things up. I need spice, I need a little bit of controversy. I don't like this lovey-dovey shit. It's the last thing I want in my life. I want an interesting life, and I've led an interesting life, and I'll continue to do so. And those of you that like it like this and feel this, oh, you know, get on the roller coaster ride, baby. That's what I say to you. You know, don't be sitting in your armchair wanting everything all nice and cosy, you know, watching love stories, you know, on the TV. Get on the roller coaster ride of life and enjoy every single bit of it. Because those of you that find it distasteful whenever you are suffering a little bit of pain or anxiety or fear or, you know, whatever it is, when you're shying away from that, you're the ones that, you know, are not going to fare up very well, and you're going to end up being cowards because you're not going to do this because of that, and you're not going to do this because of and all this sort of thing. And if you are cowards and if you are fragile, and then you're going to be very hesitant to press on the Awake and Brave channel because he might upset you. Well, look, if everything that happens to you, you embrace and you look at it and you go, well, I'm going to come out better, more knowledgeable, stronger, more learned, and all those sort of things. And so you embrace the dark side because there's nothing really dark. It's all heading towards the light. And the more of these dark avenues and closets that you go into, the more clarity you have seeing the rest of it. And so I try to take you on these journeys and I speak about them. And, you know, I'll guide you into realms where you can actually discover these things like psychedelics or astral projection or deep meditation, deep introspection, your own psychology, all these things, all an opportunity to learn and grow. And so those that are, you know, hanging around on my channel, they realise all this stuff and they say that they can't get this anywhere else, and that's what keeps them, you know, anchored to this channel. Because if anyone's going to grow, then you're going to do it here. And probably even more so in the past, when I was more confrontational and challenging and I was broaching more subject matter. But now it's kind of like those that are going to benefit from what I'm saying now are the ones that have been with me and travelled this history, and also you've got this sort of lineage yourselves, and you're somewhere, you know, with me, and you're the ones that are going to be benefiting. So to stick around, you know, would be the best thing that you could do. Whereas people coming in now, they come in and they go, what's all this business about closer to God? And then he says this 1 minute, and then they're just too confused. They can't deal with that. They can't deal with the Awake and Brave. And, you know, I do things like this to get rid of them, because the last thing I want is a whole bunch of people that are watching my videos that don't engage. And so the more that leave, the better for me, because of no value at all. I don't even think they're any value to themselves, you know, unless they make, you know, certain, you know, painful realizations along their journey, to realise the fragility of ego and life and emotions and all this sort of stuff. If you start to travel light and you just let this go, you let that go, and you strip off this and you throw that away, and all of a sudden you just find yourself, you know, like almost naked, and free, without any baggage or burdens, no insecurities about what you should be protecting. You're just open, and you're like, it's all a dream in any case. Why people are taking it so seriously? We can see clearly as day it's not a reality here. And so, anyway, last thing now, I keep meandering around. Oh, goodness me, stay on track, Berry. So, when I was enjoying this beautiful Closer to God thing, I was taking a red vein of kratom. Now, for those of you that don't know what kratom is, it's perfectly legal. It's a leaf from Indonesia. You could say it's a bit like a tea. It stimulates you. And lots of people will take red vein to ease a little bit of pain. It helps with pains here and there in the body, because it's a little bit of a sedative, and it puts you into a bit of euphoria. But there's other strains. You've got the green strain, then you've got the yellow strain, then you've got the white strain. And so I was on the red strain for 3 months. 4 months, and then I changed it, and you find that you don't get that much from it in the end. You need more and more, and that's not the way forward. And so the idea is that you switch the strain. So I switched on to the green, the white and the yellow, and I take those in variants compilations from day to day. And the white strain and the yellow strain take you into a more alert, expansive state of consciousness, whereby the red one takes you down, and you're in a comforting zone, and you meditate easy, and you can do yoga, and you make calm videos, and you speak about peace and love. But then when you're on the lighter strains, you're more animated, and and you see in the video yesterday, and on top of that, what I discovered is, if I can take a couple of heaped teaspoons of coffee, so I get the caffeine along with the stimulant of the kratom, then I become quite animated. And when I'm watching videos, 90% of the time I have my videos on times 2, because I need the information faster. When you are used to gathering information, I've been doing this YouTube thing for 12-13 years, and I've watched hundreds of thousands of videos, and you very, very quickly get into this absorption rate, and so you can do it, and you very quickly work out whether a video is going to be telling you anything that you need, and this and the other. And so I'm doing that, and then I'm making different varieties of videos, and I go into a different sort of state of consciousness, disposition. And so it's kind of like, wow, that's interesting, that is, because what happened is, as soon as I started to take those strains, I came out of that sedated, cosy, closer to God thing, and all of a sudden, it's the awakened brave. Those of you who remember the movie Drop Dead Fred with Rik Mayall, who was this jack-in-the-box, and it was about this woman who, when she was a kid, she had this imaginary friend called Drop Dead Fred, and he would come out and be her imaginary friend when she opened the jack-in-the-box. Oh, it's Jack! And so her mother, when she was a kid, told her to take that jack-in-the-box up and put it up in the attic, because it's causing too many trouble, because whenever she was with the imaginary friend, she'd be doing mischief and things like that. Anyway, years passed, and then she was married, and she went into the attic, and she was always Drop Dead Fred, and she remembered it, and she was a little bit hesitant about opening it, but she thought, fuck it, I'll open it. She opened it, poof, out popped Rik Mayall, Drop Dead Fred, this clown with green hair and crazy clothes, and he's like, hey, let's go into the kitchen and get some eggs and some flour, and let's start having fun. And then all of a sudden, the flour and the eggs are everywhere, and then the mother comes back and goes, is that fucking Drop Dead Fred? Is he back? And she's like, so that's what it's kind of like, because like I say, some of us, more than others, have multifacets to our energy. We have spirits, people, and there are a myriad spirits potentially within me. I feel the magnitude of them. And I can slip around, and this is when I've travelled around the whole world, and I've done all different sorts of things. I've wore hats, you wear the scuba diving hat, you wear the adventure hat, you wear the mountaineering hat, you wear the skiing hat, you wear the fast driving hat, you wear the cocaine sniffing and alcohol drinking hat. You do all this, hats. And this is where I'm coming from, this is where I'm speaking from. And on top of that, I've got all this spiritual stuff going on. So I'm in a vast state of consciousness. And if I'm stimulated on top of that, then that's what you get. you get something that's all of a sudden a very animated version, and looking for more. How can I get more? 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 And so I can read more, and I can watch more, and I can listen more, I can talk more, and then I can make different videos, and then I'm like, oh, what they're going to have to say about that then? Give me some more, give me something, give me something. Give me something. Have you got anything? Have you got anything to give me? Come on, you must have something to give me. Oh, what about this then? What about now? Have you got anything to give me now? What about now? Have you got anything to give me now? Come on, give me something. Why don't you give me something? See? That's what it is. And so you're the portal for stimuli. And if I don't get it, I'm like, okay. Then what about letting Drop Dead Fred out? And let's see what mischief we can get up to. And when I was a kid, I was always out in nature, and I was down the rivers and in the lakes and in the woods and in the fields, and I'm birds egging and I'm inspecting and I'm discovering everything, like, you know, I was destined to do. And then when I would find an ant's nest, after watching them meticulously and seeing how they work and extracting all the information, then I'd go, what about if I throw this insect in there? What do they do? So I get an insect somehow, and maybe whatever it is I can catch, and I pull the legs off and I put it in there so it's alive. And then all the ants, of course, you know, they're starting to pull it to pieces, and then they're carrying body parts off and everything. I'm like, that's what you do, is it? I wouldn't have known that unless I poked you a little bit. And so, you know, get a stick and poke it in and disturb it, or see them all running out and coming, where is that, you know, enemy? We're gonna get it. And I'm like, ha, I'm up here, you can't even see me, I'm not in your consciousness. And then coming upon a wasp's nest or something like that, you know, you watch them, and then as a kid it's kind of like, do we get this stick and just see what happens? And then you poke the stick, you know, that's what happens. Sometimes you get a little bit out your depth, and then you find out what happens. Then you get a few stings, and then it's kind of like, next time I'm going to get a longer stick, and I'm going to cover myself up like that, and then I'm going to do it and go, what can you do now? And so it's just having an inquisitive mind and seeing what people do under certain situations and things like that. And so that's all I do, people. And you know, I experience now that I'm out of the closeness to God, but I can get back in there instantly whenever I want to, because I know where it is. It's kind of like being close to God. It's okay, it's cool, it gives you X, but it doesn't give you Y or Z. And it's kind of like, well, sometimes I like Y and Z. I don't want to be this closer to God all the time, and compassionate and loving and understanding. Oh dear, God forbid, no. And that's what God knows with me. That's why God has brought me on this journey and shown me all of this stuff that I need. But all the time what he's been doing is been slowly reeling me in. And I'm like, I'm not ready yet, I'm going to have more fun over here. And sometimes I'll break off of the hook and I'll go swimming around, and then later he'll catch me again. It's like, and then sometimes I'll come passively and I'll go, okay, I'll just be passive for a moment like that. Whatever you want, God. And then, you know, I'll be given license to do other things. But absolutely intuitively, I know that this relationship with God, it isn't 100% about peace and love. It absolutely isn't, because God creates and God embraces everything. And so this is all God's dream, every single facet about it. And so then we have the question, the efficacy of right and wrong. It's the human egoic consciousness that projects right and wrong onto this. As far as God's concerned, there is no right and wrong. He doesn't have right and wrong. He has isness. And it creates all this multitude, just like an inquisitive kid, just to see what happens. So he goes, let me create this, all these creatures, and let me create a creature like this, and let's see what happens if this creature meets this creature. And then you've got all these different creatures with these exciting dances and battles going on. You know, when you watch a mongoose with like a cobra, or when you watch a constricting snake like a python or an anaconda, and they grab like a cheetah or a black panther or something like this, you've got that going on. And then you've got the praying mantis who comes upon a scorpion. Look at all this stuff we've got. It's all God's creation, and it's meant to be. And whatever we do, it's all meant to be. And we make of it what we will. And we can experience whatever we want to experience. We can go down the dark lane, we can go down the light lane, we can go down them and come back and, you know, try something else. And you see, there is a facet of free will, which we do have. And that's the choices to decide what variety of experience you want. And, you know, I can speak categorically about this because I know that if I change my circumstances, if I change my environment, and how do we do this? If we take a substance, if we drink some caffeine, if we take some kratom, if we take some DMT, what we do is we just go boop, 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 boop. And what you do is you're turning all these facets around rapido, and so you're experiencing this, and this is what DMT shows you. It shows you all these crazy stuff, all these billions of things that you can be. That what you are, it shows you, it's your choice, you choose, you choose. And those of us that have delved into that sort of stuff, you can see, it's all there. It's all for you, and it is all you. Every single bit of it. And so in my life, I've sampled many of these fruits. And now, because I'm becoming more sedentary in my latter years, I'm being more suited to one variety of life than I am the other. And so this altercation thing, this stimulating people to see what they would do, I've done so much of that. And that's why I haven't done it, you know, in this past 4 months. But thought I'd try it again. And then be done with it for another year maybe, or whatever. And, you know, I may just go into a different variety of stimuli, into a different realm of cognition. And in the past I have done, haven't I? I read a different book. I engage in a different subject. I myth bust this or I myth bust that. And then just keep moving around. Well, that's what I do, people. Anyway, enough said. All you long-term viewers, you know that's what I do. And the only people that ever have a problem with me is if you're feeling a little bit fragile about feeling persecuted or bullied in some way because I'm speaking about some of the traits that you do and have. But, you know, it's nothing personal because I don't know any of you personally. But what I do is if I say things, then it's up to you whether you want to engage with that or not. It's up to you whether you think, oh, isn't it? Really? But if you can go, and you're cool with that, then you're not like this, are you? So when you're like this, ask yourself the question, are you like this because you like that? I think you'll find that is true. So anyway, another brilliant Awake and Brave monologue. Not a rant this time, just a monologue. But I don't have any problem speaking about brilliance because I watch mediocre every single day. I've read thousands of books written by the mediocre. And you have to get through a whole bunch of everything before you're going to find the gems. And that's what I'm doing. I'm panning. I've always been panning. And I said to someone in the comment the other day, you know, why are you always doing this? I'm like, well, you know, I'm a prospector. I'm panning for gold. Because the relationships I've got today and I've had throughout the years, they've all come via this portal. I don't invariably meet anybody out there in circumstances whereby I have a relationship. And most certainly I wouldn't have a relationship with anybody in close proximity, because I don't like those close relationships. I like to feel that nobody's ever going to knock on my door. I don't want that level of intrusion. And even to the extent whereby I would have to fall out with my family members to prevent them from doing that. I don't want them knocking on my door like my sister used to, coming round with a can of beer and then just draining my energy for the next hour and a half with complete claptrap. It's kind of like, what? No, I don't want to. I don't want to. And so, you know, that's how it is. We create our own realities where we become absolutely comfortable, and I'm absolutely comfortable in my variety of existence. And whenever I want a communication, I just turn this on. I talk to the camera and I put it on the computer, and then I look at the comments. And then, no. And when, if I'm not stimulated or engaged with that, I'll go and watch a video or pick up my book. Different stuff. Anyway, that's where we are, people. And so we'll just continue on our little journey, I suppose. What else can you do? It's kind of what they say when, you know, what do you do when you wake up? Before you woke up, you chop wood and carry water. What do you do when you wake up? You chop wood and carry water. There's nothing else to do. You wake up to this place where you're happening at this moment in time, and you're not always going to be here. And so, well, get whatever value you can out of it then. Give whatever value you've got. Share your value. I'm sharing all my values. And sometimes it will appear that I'm not sharing with you. I'm just taking away from you. But everything that I do is an opportunity for you to look at yourselves. And, you know, I've always said in the past, it's my intention to upset, rattle your cage of every single one of you. And I'm going to do it. Why are you going to do it? Because, you know, why does a praying mantis, you know, catch other creatures? Because that's what they do. Why does a bear like to eat honey? Because that's what they do. Why do I do what I do? That's what I do. It's what I am. It's my experience here, in this dimension. It's what I was always destined to do. And so there you have it. And so I know, being a spirit and watching this thing does all these different sorts of things. And it will take spirit on a journey all around the world, and it has done. And the body finds itself here, it finds itself there, it's found itself doing this and doing that, and the spirit's like, oh, I'm on the top of Mount Kilimanjaro now. Oh, I'm diving on a wreck in, you know, the Red Sea or something. Then I'm walking through a forest in, you know, Europe, and all of a sudden, my consciousness has been all around these places, and it's been aware that it has a separate existence to the body. There's two things going on, at the very least. There's the egoic Aaron Berry, awake and brave, you know, doing all this stuff. And then there's this, whatever. That's what it is. That's how it is. And so, I think that'll be enough for today.